Hey there, guys. This is Real Guardian. My deepest apologies not being able to record in such a long time. It's due to the fact that I've been working insane hours at my part-time job because I need the money, and hopefully I can go full-time soon so I can actually have a concrete schedule. I want to thank you all for sticking around with me. Really quick before I let this go on is that any video I make that's not part of like an older series will basically be a one-shot due to the fact that I will not be focusing on the series even though I've made this one until I get done with the other ones. But being that said, this is basically a part 0. So I hope you guys will enjoy. Web Bell was the white and red dragon emperor and the wielder of the true longinus spear. I hope you guys enjoyed the story, and I think I did a really fun idea and concept with it. A small girl was floating in what looked like a purple void. She had black hair and black eyes and was wearing a Lolita dress. As she spoke, "So our world is gone now." She sighed, turning her head to see 3 objects she saved from being destroyed, that being a spear, a gauntlet, and a pair of wings, with the souls of their previous bearers with them. Turning back, looking forward in the endless void, she seems to be thinking for what looks like an eternity. But it looks as though she's finally gotten an idea. Saying out loud, "I should go back to that place. It was a fun one." As she opens a portal and grabs the 3 objects behind near her. Walking through it, she reappears in a forest, clearing as she takes a deep breath, setting out her power to see what's going on. Then saying, "Those Yeezys decided to come down and use my blessing that I created. Oh well, not that I care." She then began to float up, and as she was about to dart away, the 3 glowing objects in her hand forced their way out of her grasp, darting up and blasting off. She then followed them. They stopped when they reached some mountains. They seemed to be looking for something. As they darted all around them, they finally stopped near a village. The young girl at this time was wondering, why was this happening? As her whole companion's soul sensing something useful? Once she finished that thought, she then noticed that they had darted to a house at the back of the village and paused there. So the young girl went there and asked, "Is this what you're looking for?" They all glowed brightly. The girl nodded her head, and as soon as she opened the door to see a boy wrapped up in a blanket, who was clearly asleep, and what seemed to be dry tears on his face. The objects floated in, and 3 figures appeared, this being a young man, one with short light silver hair and hazel eyes, wearing a jacket with a white button-up shirt and a green undershirt and black pants. The second one with short black hair and one blue eye and had an eye patch covering the other, was wearing a school uniform with a mixture of Chinese attire. The final one being a young man with spiky brown hair and brown eyes wearing a school uniform. They turned to the girl saying, "Office? Wake him up. We need to talk." The girl nodded and nudged the young boy awake. He rubbed his blurry eyes to see a small girl near his age with 3 phantom-looking young men standing next to her. He jumped up scared and crawled backwards, saying, "I don't have anything of value. It was just me and my grandfather until he recently," stopping himself, but quickly saying, "But take what you want, please, and don't kill me." The girl looked confused while 2 of the young men sighed, and the brown one here speaks up, saying, "Calm down. We're not going to rob you. We just want to talk. But first, our names. I'm Issei, the most handsomest bastard here. The silver-haired wannabe is Vali, and the one with the one eye, and that one I'll call the one-eyed bat is Cho. And this is Office." Both Cho and Vali were pissed at what he was calling them, but the young boy they noticed was staring at the girl with his mouth hanging open, which confused Issei, Vali, and Cho. As the young boy saying, "As in the dragon goddess of affinity that made the fauna. That Office." The other 3 looked at her confused, and Office simply answered, "See, I came here once when I was bored and taught the deities of this world how to make a fauna, or in more basic layman terms as you put it, an RPG leveling system for when they choose to descend on the condition. I get to do whatever I want here, if I choose to return in the future." This made Issei, Valley, and Cho jaws drop. With all of a sudden, Issei screams out, "Wait! You could have done that! Why did you not do it in the first place?" Office looked at them with her deadpan, expressionless face, saying, "I forgot till I decided to come back here." This made Issei, Valley, and Cho collapse to the ground, wondering how they could have saved their world with it, maybe. While having their clear mental breakdown, the young boy, noticing the opportunity, quickly kneeled down in front of Office, saying, "Goddess, can I make a request?" She looked at him with a puzzled expression, saying, "What is it?" The boy said, "Please bless me. I need the power to become a hero, and end the Black Dragon's terror. After saying that, Child looked at the boy with hope in his one eye, thinking, a hero I can train. Issei and Vali, sorry, Issei and Vali look at him with a questioning gaze, thinking, a black dragon, so there's dragon in his world too. After saying, I see, but what are you willing to give me in return for any of this? Or in more simple terms, the power I can give. This shocked the other three, but they waited, for they were all curious of the boy's response to that. He then got in a groveling position without hesitation, even though this upset the other three, thinking he should never grovel to anyone, even Office. They kept their thoughts to themselves and mouths shut. Once they see tears streaming down his face, saying, I just lost my grandfather. Was planning to become an adventurer in a warrior, so I could live up to my dreams and ambitions to become this world's hero. The intent to kill the Black Dragon, the monster that took everything from me. And in return, I will give you everything I am, and will be, if that means I can just get a drop of that power. That made Issei, Vali, and Cho smile. I know I'm saying the last guy's name wrong all the time, and possibly Office's name, with Office saying, okay then, I bless you, and grant you the gift of infinity. You better not die. As she tears off the boy's shirt without warning and making him grab his chest, making the other three bust a gut laughing at his reaction. Office then forced him on the ground and dropped some of her blood on his back, and formed into a snake in the sign of infinity. But as that happened, power surged through the boy, and he began to scream in pain as it started to devour him, as his body disappeared until nothing. They waited patiently for what seemed like hours, but in reality it was a few minutes. The boy nearly vanished, but in the last second his body returned. He stood up. His body went through an insane transformation. From a scrawny to built young man with an 8-pack of abs, his cute appearance took on a more tough and handsome appearance. His hair was now longer and more straight than short. It seemed to have still this softness to it, though. His crimson eyes were even more red, as someone poured blood on them. He was even slightly taller, looking closer to a 16 or 17-year-old. Overall, his new look was a lady killer, even though it pissed off a certain brown-haired guy, with two others laughing at their buddy's misfortune and misery. The boy takes deep breaths as Office walks around the boy, saying, I must say, I never thought it would actually do that to you. I mean, normally, there's not much change. Going to his back and looking at Savs, Office says, congrats, you are now maxed out level 1 with X stats. I can level you after you get used to your new power. And you have a skill called something phase. It's based on a single-minded desire and helps you grow faster. As with my gift, that being the magic of infinity and the bomb's well of infinity, which I will teach you later about. But first, I think they want to talk to you. He looked at them and saying, first, my name is Balcornell, and what do you want? They all looked at each other saying, first, we are going to give you our sacred gears, but we are going to train you first. With the sacred gears power, but also without them. Because you really need to become stronger. And we also want to make sure you don't end up dying too soon. Plus, thinking about it, it'd probably be more important if you can do this without needing their power all the time. Belle looked at them confused, not understanding what's going on, with Office saying, I'll explain everything that's going on. After a talk and a huge explanation we are all skipping because we don't need to hear it, we're now at the end of the conversation. Belle basically saying, so sacred gears are powers made by God. Basically, if I'm getting that right. And the ones you have can kill gods and goddesses world with ease if I'm understanding their power correctly in the power scaling of your world. And you are here because your world was destroyed, but stored your souls in the gear to find a worthy vessels, but turns out I could use all 3 of them? They nodded, and Belle said, okay, I was planning to go to Oreo in a few months anyway, but I'll train to become stronger. As he turns to Office and kneels, saying, I hereby pledge my undying loyalty and faith in you, God's Office. Your enemies are my enemies, your allies are my allies. If you desire this world, I'll do everything to get it for you, my gods. That is the will of my pledge. With fire and conviction clearly in Belle's eyes, this actually made Office blush and her heart beat fast for the first time ever, not knowing really why, with Issei slyly grinning as he jabbed the other two, motioning him to come closer, saying in a faint whisper, he just made Office fall in love. Just by saying this made the other two eyes go wild. Thinking if the rest were still around, they would never believe that Office fell in love. Issei coughed and saying, now, with all that out of the way, we're giving your power to you, but we're going to still be in this form until we feel you've been trained properly. Then go interrogators. Oh yeah, our partners, mainly mine and Volley's, will be here to help you as well. Together we will be your guides, so are you all good with this? Bell nodded as the three gears turned into orbs of blue, red, and white, and darted into Bell. He felt new power, but no pain this time. He smiled, saying, I will become worthy of his power. I promise. With that, months of hellish training and bonding went by. Right now, Office and Bell were in a carriage with her sitting in his lap, nibbling on a bag of cookies that Bell made. He was also wearing a new outfit. He was wearing a black cape with a white single line down the middle. His hood was down. He had armored pads on his short shoulders. He was wearing a white and black shirt. He was also wearing a red bracelet on his right arm and a blue one on his left. He was in his normal black pants with a white belt, and he had on black combat boots. Bell looked at his goddess and was so happy his father made him learn how to cook, clean, and do repairs. It really saved his butt, especially if he made Office mad. What if his new personal notes never pissed her off by denying her, in her own terms, cuddles when you are tired from trading? As he shivers at that thought, trying his best not to remember it. Though to the other passengers, they just thought they were a cute brother and sister combo. They looked nothing alike. In this world, it's common for children to be like this since they lose their parents and bond this way. Bell did notice this and made his personal mark in his own head how quickly they'd be warp-shifting Office. As she's the only dragon that's not hated but revered. As she's the being that made it where we could fire kind and win. That is what most people believe. They got to the gate and got off, and would have to wait in a long line if Office did not start walking to the front of the gate. But before the guards could fully stop her, she pulled out a letter with a seal on it. Seeing that, the guards took it and opened it. Their mouths dropped and their eyes nearly fell out by the time they got to the end. Studying before saying, "You have a nice day, guys," handing the letter back to him. Bell wondered what was in that letter, but he decided against it. And even asking about it. Even though he did notice the guards were looking as if the true goddess of this world had descended. He did not like that look. That look should be reserved only for him. They start walking towards a destination, but after a bit, Office grabs Bell's hand and was holding on to him close, really close. Bell, not realizing what was happening until he looked around his surroundings, realized many women of all ages and sizes were looking at him with lust-filled gazes, licking her lips, and he knew he heard an ara ara from some of them. Bell realizes Office is jealous. It took only one near-death punch to never deny he's her mate. Shivering a bit again, realizing his own screw-ups over the past few months. But he chuckles a bit as well, and he picks her up, placing her on his shoulder, saying, "Don't worry, none of these women are my type. Plus, they have to pass their test first, right?" She just nodded. They were on their way, with Office directing him to a certain building. Once there, she jumped down. They entered to see another line. Office just walked around immediately and slapped the letter down in front of this red werewolf girl. She looked pissed, but Office just glared at her. This scared the red werewolf girl so much, she decided just to pick up the writing. Once done, her eyes went wide, and she came around the counter, kneeled, then saying, "My name is Rose, and I'll be at your service, guys," and whispered Office's name very quietly. Office nodded, and finally she motioned for Bell to come, saying, "This is my only familia member." Rose looked at the young boy, or was he a young man? She even blushed a bit, realizing how handsome this person was. Coughing, told herself to get together. Shaking her head, said, "Please come this way." After that, they left. There were many puzzling faces that looked at the direction of three, but most don't really care, looking back forward and just hoping to get through their day. Now within a private booth, Rose saying, "That you are now here, Goddess Office, I will go over what you were given. A home, well, really a mansion. And it's in this place, setting down a map with a circle and directions on it. Second, complete approval to use all your power and abilities. Third, no act you will do will make the guild take any disciplinary action towards you. You or your familia," making sure you understand that clearly. "Fourth, your members' levels and stats will be hidden at all times. Finally, no one can take a member of your familia without your consent. If this happens, or they try to, you're allowed to do as you see fit. That being said, is anything else you need, Office?" The answer saying, Yes, I want you to be my child's advisor, and that will be all for now. Rose nodded, saying, I can do that. Belle walked over and shook her hand, giving her a beautiful smile, saying, I'll be in your care for the foreseeable future. My name is Belle Cornell. Rose turned to a blushing mouth with, she was actually smiling. Neither of them noticed this. Rose coughed, saying, Yes, it's nice to meet you, Belle. My name is Rose, as I said before. I hope to get to know you better. After that, they left, but not before Rose thought, crap, not to fall in love with adventurers. But still, she shook her head and went back to work. We now cut to office. Belle was carrying her princess style by her demand, standing in front of a mansion that was so big it's a 10-mile long walk to get to the house. And the size of this place was no joke. It was a 4-story building. It had taken up a whole section of the district they were in. It had gardens all around them, a training field in the back, forges, a ballerina. Belle couldn't even realize how much was there. He basically realized everything that he would ever need to become a strong adventurer or get as many family members as possible was here. He was basically crying tears of joy knowing he picked the right goddess and lover, as he kind of blushed thinking about it. After getting comfortable, Office turned to Belle and handed him a paper saying, This is our symbol. It was a bell that had an infinity sign on it, with a spear and sword crossed in the background with flames slowly rising in the back as well. Belle smiled, saying, It's perfect, Office, and turned, saying, Of course, it shows my love for my eternal mate and hubby. Belle blushed a bit before they left her royal. She had bitten his neck hard and made a unique mark on it. An infinity sign in the shape of a heart with a small bells around it. She also told him she's only accepting women that she thought was worthy to be with him. If none showed up, she was never sharing him at all. And cuddles with cookies are now mandatory. He was crying about it later with Issei and the other two, who were both in shock. Later, they all started laughing their butts about it, with Issei finally saying, Well, you got a very accepting yandere under your hands, my friend. You were probably the most luckiest man alive. They still will not tell Belle what a yandere is. After 2 weeks went by, Belle was being followed during this time period. Belle has also not been in the dungeon. Given that either he's a high-end level 7, he wanted all the info he could get before diving into it. In his own words, it's stupid to go in blind as a bat. This made Rose, his advisor, very happy, because it seemed she finally had someone with brains that wanted to survive. She also had a thing for him. Belle realized that thanks to Issei teaching him the subtle signs of any girl or woman liking you. Truthfully liking. After his final lessons day, he was going to go in the dungeon the next day. And if he got back, he was going to axe out Rose. She already had Office's approval. She told him she got that day when they shaked hands. She could tell they'd be a perfect match. So he was happy. Now, Belle was walking to his house and stopping when he saw the cloaked figure that's been following him for the past 2 weeks dart into a nearby alleyway. Belle was just sighing. Whatever Dee's trying to figure out who I am is really annoying. Now he walked into the mansion to see Office eating her usual cookies. Turned around and said, Are you ready for date night tonight? Belle nodded and said, I heard the hostess fertility is a good place to eat, since I wouldn't get out for this one. Not spend all night in the bedroom, with a bit of blush and a cough. Belle asked, Is that okay with you? Office nodded, saying, As long as I'm with you, we could sit on the sun, and it would be perfect. She then smiles, and it took Belle's breath away. But she climbs up on him, saying, You're not sleeping tonight, though. This made Belle's soul leave his body for a minute. Office giggled. The five souls still have not gotten over this shocking part of the relationship, with Issei screaming, How is he this lucky? Now cutting to the hostess, Belle's wearing a black t-shirt and jeans with his usual combat boots. Office is actually wearing a black dress with a bow tie on it. As Belle and her walked in, a cat girl said, Table for two? After a bit, they got seated at the counter with the owner of the bar introducing herself, saying, I am Mia, and pointing to the elf girl, saying, This is Ryu? I think that's how you say her name. I don't know if I'm saying it right. She will be getting your order, so look over the menu. After looking it over, we ordered the pasta and juice, and that Ryu girl was just as expressionless as my goddess. It is really hot. Crap, am I time for that woman now? Grandfather, I am so sorry I have a weird taste. But I get to say I am effing a goddess, so there's that. After a while of eating, a voice says, Table for the reserved guests are here. With a large group of people walking up. Belle recognized them. They had a Paulman, aka Finn, a human girl, aka Eyes, a dwarf, aka Garth, a high elf, aka Riveria, with another elf, aka Leafia, two Amazons, aka Tione and Tony, and a werewolf, aka Bet. But once Belle saw the Amazon, she smiled, thinking, good, they found a familiar. After a while, the werewolf was boasting about his victories in the dungeon, and even missing how they almost got a bunch of old adventurers killed by the actions with the Minotaurs. But Ops looked at him with rage. Belle could tell she hated this type of guy. And once Mia walked up, Belle placed a decent amount of vows, saying, This is for the trouble I will cause. My deepest apologies. He then kneeled and asked, What is your command, my goddess? Office looked at him, saying, Before we leave, silence that mutt for me, my mate. Belle nodded, Yes, my goddess. Belle cracked his knuckles as his spear appeared from his sleeve. He quickly dashed forward with the spear, and before anyone could react to it, Belle quickly used it to knock the werewolf into the air and punched him so hard he sent him flying. He spun the spear around to the ground, tapping it and shrieking back, placing it back in his sleeves. After the initial shock, Loki banged the table and got up, saying, Who the hell are you? Belle looked at her coldly, so cold it sent shivers down everyone's spine. Belle spoke, saying, My goddess ordered me to silence him. I made sure that hit was soft enough to fire. But if you wish for me to silence him the other way, be my guest. Finish what you're about to say. Loki went from drunk to sober in a second. Something told her if she pissed him off, she would die. She turned to Finn, noticing his thumb was shaking. She swallowed and said, No, please don't do that. Belle sighed and turned to Tiona and Tiona. Say, it's good to see you two again. They looked at him confused, and Belle laughed, saying, Tiona, Tione, and Tioni, it's me, Hero Rabbit, Fire Rabbit, Cuddly Rabbit. They both got a deep crimson blush and bolted up from their chairs, saying, Belle, is that you? Belle answered with a nod, saying, Yep, it's been a few years now. I think I've grown up quite well. Both girls blushed heavily and say, Yeah, you got really handsome since the last time we saw you. Belle smiled, saying, Thanks, it's good to see you again. How about we catch up later? I have to take home a now jealous goddess. Belle turned to see Office's face, and it was the we are going to have a talk about this later phase. Belle basically is the only being that can tell what's going on with her just by looking at her. Saying, Sorry, Miss Mia. Once she orders something, I have to carry out to the end. Mia just laughs and says, I understand. I was an adventurer once. I get it. But if you're really sorry, then you better start eating here more. Belle and Mia gave a thumbs up. As Office walked to the front, she looked at Loki, saying, It's good to see you again. Keep your familiar in check, or I will order its end. Better yet, help its end. Loki was now scared shitless. After that, they left, and Finn asked Loki, Why are you so scared? She gulped, saying out loud, That was Office, the creator of the fauna, the only deity allowed to use her fueled power. So yes, I'm scared we pissed her off. This caused a massive gasp, and many were scared and in awe. They're in the same place as her. Mia looked like her soul left her body, since she earlier called her a cute kid. Finn was in shock, but quickly turned to Tiona and Tioni, saying, You know that boy? They both nodded, with Tioni saying, Of course my beloved Belle would get the greatest deity of all's blessing, as she was in her dream world and some very explicit stuff was being said out loud. Tiona said, Sorry about that. Belle stole her heart after beating her in a fight of wits, ironically. Basically, we lose no matter what game it was, whether it was chess, shogi, stuff like that. We even tried a debate with him one time, but we lost that too. Belle was like some genius in a sense. He taught us how to use our brains when we really weren't thinking about it. It's why we lasted so long against you guys back when we were even level 3s. It was all the tactics and strategies he taught us. But thanks to all that, she developed a pretty bad love for the guy. Tione slapped her sister, saying, So did you, when he would tell you hero stories he made up, just to help you sleep at night? This caused Tiona and to blush and start a fight between the two. Finn saying, so he's the legendary Bill I always hear about. He's got to be at least a level 6, if not level 7 with that punch. This made Reveria look at Finn saying, plus his magic is very out of this world. It was so strong I could feel it before he even got in here. Leafy and I in agreement. This it made Finn sigh, saying, I think it's best we find him and grovel with the familiar and Bete in front of office. I don't want her wrath on us any longer. Do I make myself clear? They all scream, yes, Finn. As the two left, a silver-haired waitress was watching with clear interest, as well as a certain blonde girl. So that thing was the dragon goddess. I want to fight that man. He's clearly strong. Plus, he was really hot. And she blushed about it. That being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this What If. I'm sorry for taking so long to get around to doing this again. It's my apologies, guys, but it's because of my work. Okay, with that being said, I hope you guys have a great one, and I will see you guys later. This is Real Garian, signing off.